The courage of imperfection means the transferring of one's effort to a major battlefield where significant things are done and failure or success becomes relatively incidental. This is it. What more do you need? This could very well be the end of the video. You turn this off and you go and do the things that you know you need to do. This was, by the way, Rollo May. This is the existential courage, the existential passion that I keep talking about. This is the fire that you need in your life. And this is why I keep referencing existential thinkers and, most of all, Rollo May. Because those are the thinkers that want to invoke courage in you, not the thinkers that want to make you feel good for the sake of feeling good. Sometimes Rollo May, and hopefully myself, will make you feel slightly frustrated at yourself. Frustrated because you know you're not living authentically. Frustrated because you know you're not honoring your potential. Frustrated because you know you could be doing more for yourself, for whatever it is in you, the essence in you that is seeking to be expressed or at the very least explored. So no, we don't want to be feeling better for the sake of feeling better. We don't want to feel better for the sake of good vibes only. We want to be more courageous. And this is what I get from existential thinkers and existential psychology every single time. This is why I'm referencing them. These are not armchair philosophers. These are not people engaging in mental masturbation, pardon my language. These are people living life and wanting you to live your life. However, let's get back to the initial opening statement or opening quote. This is a video about perfectionism at the end of the day, not about existential psychology. Major battlefield. Transferring your efforts to a major battlefield. Let me read you another line. The compulsive neurotic who is not willing to fail must fight only on minor battlefields. What is a minor battlefield? Can you recognize what are the minor battlefields that you are fighting on or fighting at? I can share mine from the past. The very first website that I created for myself. I spent 4 months trying to come up with, quote unquote, the best name, the perfect name for the website so that I could buy a domain and actually create a website. That's a minor battlefield. Investing my effort or efforts or actually investing internal resources that could be translated or turned into external effort, using them and spending them for 4 months on coming up with the best name. And you know, you who are listening to this, you're listening for a reason, and you know that you are doing this in some way. There are some of you wanting to start a newsletter, and you are also coming up with the best name, or what is the better platform? Is it Medium or Substack, or should I have my own website? What should be my first post? You also want to make YouTube videos, you are thinking of what is the channel name? What should be my first video? How do I learn to make the best transition? So on and so forth. You are fighting on those minor battlefields. When the major battlefield is writing the thing, publishing the thing, researching, studying, maybe something completely different. I'm usually talking about creative and intellectual pursuits because that's closest to me, and I often speak with people who are engaged in some sort of creative and or intellectual pursuit. But you have to figure out what is the minor battlefield, or what are the minor battlefields that you are wasting your energy on. And why? Let's say why. Out of cowardice, out of unwillingness to fail, not wanting to fail. So let me then engage in these trivial matters. We need courage, we need to invoke courage. You can maybe already recognize by my tone, this is not going to be the most systematic video, step-by-step breakdown how to become courageous. I would personally find it ridiculous to have a 10-step approach to becoming courageous. I do believe in one concrete piece of practical and actionable insight, and that is that acting courageously in any aspect of your life transfers to every other or any other aspect of your life. So you can practice courage infinite amount of times throughout the day. Will every single one of those actions hold the same weight? And will every single one of those actions increase your capacity and tendency to act courageously in the future to the same extent? Not. But we very much need those small actions. So, if you're talking about developing courage, practicing courage, that's what it is. It's about practicing. It's about doing anything and everything that you can do to practice the very action which is choosing courage, because it is a choice. That's as practical as courage can get. Making it any more practical, any more systematic would be, sorry, but it would be spitting in the face of what courage should be. It has to be something larger than systems, methods, frameworks. Courage has to be something that cannot be confined into a list. That's why we have poetry, that's why we have mythology, that's why we have philosophy, that's why we have art. To express courage, to invoke courage through imagery, sound, story. And you need to live out your story, you need to live out your courage. That's, again, as practical as it can be. And if you want to tackle your perfectionism, are there more analytical, systematically constructed ways to look at the perfectionism, to address perfectionism? Most certainly. I'm willing to talk about some of them that I appreciate. But this time I wanted to share with you something that I find more potent because it's more human and more real. And that's just to acknowledge that the courage of imperfection, that is the courage to live life, the courage to create, the courage to do, the courage to be imperfect and to fail, is the courage to step out onto the major battlefield of your life. Again, whatever the pursuit is, to recognize what it is and to, as Rollo May said, to fight on that battlefield where significant things are done and failure or success becomes relatively incidental. Because what do we have from memoirs of great explorers and warriors? What do we have from books of, for example, samurai philosophy like Hagakure? We have this notion, and also what do we have from mythology? We have this notion that for a true warrior, and every single one of you watching is a warrior because you have a warrior inside of you and you're living this human existence, which is very much a war full of battles, and you're consistently on some sort of battlefield. So the warrior analogy is very relevant. To go back to what I was saying, for the warrior, victory or defeat is irrelevant, because the true defeat is in retreating from the battle. The true defeat is in retreating from life's challenges. The true defeat is in shrinking away from what you could do, from the effort that you could make. But if you do engage in the battle, if you do engage in the challenge in front of you, if you do put in the effort, outcome is irrelevant. You have affirmed yourself as the warrior, as the hero who tries, who does his or her best, or at least close to his or her best. And by affirming yourself, you have won the battle of life. Maybe a bit dramatical, maybe sounding a bit dramatical when it comes to a topic that is as usual and daily and mundane as perfectionism, right? And perfectionistic tendencies. But maybe this is exactly what you need in your life. Maybe this is what you needed today to realize how dramatic it can be. Dramatic in the best sense of that word. Maybe you needed to realize how much potential fire there is in these mundane daily things such as perfectionistic tendencies. So I'm just hoping that you take this message of minor versus major battlefields. I'm hoping that you sit with yourself and you identify what those minor battlefields are, and you transfer your efforts onto the major battlefield, where when you put in the effort, when you make the effort, when you act and express yourself courageously, victory or defeat, success or failure, it will be incidental or irrelevant, because you have already won. Thank you.